Ceramic objects have been made by nearly every culture around the world, dating back over thousands of years. Many ceramic vessels were made for storage, but have also been used to express spiritual beliefs and record cultural practices. Archaeological digs have uncovered amazing ceramic artifacts that help us understand the lives of past civilizations. Artists today still use ceramic processes to create both functional pottery and expressive works of art. To prepare clay for studio use, measured proportions of water and powdered clay are blended together in a large mixer. A respirator must be worn because dry clay dust should not be inhaled. There are three basic types of clay. Earthenware, or terracotta, is reddish in color due to its high iron content. Stoneware is typically gray or brown, and porcelain clay is white or off-white, depending on its level of purity. Before creating a vessel or ceramic artwork, the clay must be kneaded to create an even texture and to remove any trapped air bubbles. This process, called wedging, makes the clay easier to work with. There are four common techniques used to create ceramic objects. Pinching involves starting with a solid ball of clay and squeezing or pinching it until you achieve the desired shape. Coiling is a hand-building method. Small coils of clay are rolled out and then layered, fused together, and smoothed. This technique is often used to build circular or organic-shaped objects. Another hand-building method involves the use of slabs of clay. The clay is rolled out like pie dough and cut into shapes. The slabs are allowed to dry slightly before proceeding, as the clay needs to be leather hard. The shapes are assembled into square, angular, or geometric objects using a technique called scoring and slipping. The surfaces that are to be joined together are scored with a fork or needle tool. Liquid clay, called slip, is smeared on both sides, and then the surfaces are scored again. When the two pieces are assembled, the slip acts as an adhesive. The third technique, called slip casting, involves pouring slip into plaster molds that soak up the water in the clay. This method is used to mass-produce plates, cups, bowls, and figurines. The final technique is called throwing and requires the use of a potter's wheel. A kick wheel allows direct control over the speed, but requires human effort. An electric wheel has predetermined speed settings and is much lighter than a kick wheel. To throw a pot, an artist begins by throwing a ball of clay in the exact center of the wheel. After the wheel begins to spin, the potter must brace himself and use the strength of his body to center the clay on the wheel. The clay is then opened using one hand to drill down into the center while the other steadies the clay body. Pulling up the body of the clay forms a cylinder. Shaping is the last step and gives the pot its final form. Using a wire tool and a splash of water, the piece is removed from the potter's wheel and allowed to slowly dry using plastic sheeting or a drying cabinet. During the drying process, the pot will become leather hard, and the base can be trimmed to form a foot using a ribbon tool. It takes many hours of practice to become proficient at using the potter's wheel, but the results are well worth the effort. Regardless of which technique is used, decorative elements can be added by carving into the clay or using stamps to leave an impression. Colored slips can be applied to the unfired clay, referred to as greenware, and a scratching technique known as sgraffito can also be used to decorate the surface. When the water has completely evaporated from the greenware, it goes into the kiln for the bisque firing. This is when the physical structure of the object is transformed from clay to a permanent material called ceramic. Firing typically takes 24 hours, and the clay is slowly heated in the kiln, up to 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit, depending on the type of clay. Once fired, the ceramic object is called bisqueware and is ready for a liquid glaze to be applied. The bisqueware can be dipped into the glaze, or the glaze can be poured or painted onto the surface. It is important to remove glaze that is too close to the bottom of the piece because it flows downward when heated and may stick the object to the shelf of the kiln. Once glazed, the piece goes back in the kiln for a second time for a glaze firing. The temperature must be significantly hotter than for bisque firing. Various types of kilns and firing techniques can be used. Pit firing is the oldest known method of creating pottery. Native American potters used this method to create an array of functional and decorative vessels. An anagama kiln is an ancient wood-fired kiln shaped like a tunnel with a firebox at one end and a flue at the other. The ash from the wood helps to add glaze to the objects within. During the Industrial Revolution, which began in the late 18th century, kilns started to use electricity and fossil fuels. Today, gas-burning kilns are common and can be used for bisque and glaze firing. Because electric kilns do not easily attain extremely high temperatures, they are primarily used for bisque firing, but can also be used for lower temperature earthenware. The temperature of the glaze firing depends on the clay, glazes, and the desired effects. Pyrometric cone packs are used to measure the temperature in the kiln. Earthenware is a low-fired material, whereas stoneware can be mid-range or high-fired. Porcelain is fired at a temperature between 2300 and 2500 degrees and is the hardest type of ceramic. The glaze firing may take many days to complete. When the kiln has cooled completely, the pieces are removed and the final artwork is revealed. Although ceramic technology does not often change, a new technique using computers and 3D rapid prototyping has recently been developed. Ceramic objects are modeled using software. Then, a machine prints the object in layers using ceramic powder and a liquid binder. Once it has been placed in the kiln, the silica in the clay powder binds together to fuse the piece. From stylized figurines to elegantly decorated vases, ceramic objects have been and continue to be a significant part of daily life. Throughout history, the flexibility of clay has given rise to inspirational art forms and utilitarian objects that define and describe our cultural heritage.